Dov-Ber. We've seen a revival, what almost has become an extinct language, Yiddish. Instead of kvetching, our next guest has all of our mishpucha felling over his poetry. Welcome, Dov-Ber Curler, not to be confused with burglar. Welcome to the show.
Hi, very nice to be here.
Nice to meet you too. Yes. I've had so much fun writing all of these words and throwing in all of the Yiddish from my childhood. You're originally from the Soviet Union. You grew up during the time of communism in the Soviet Union. What are your memories, of being a Jew at this time?
If you had to be born in the Soviet Union, my time was the best to be born in the Soviet Union. I was just very lucky. We left in '71, so I left at the age of 13 almost.
Mm-hmm. You had your bar mitzvah there or here?
I actually had my bar mitzvah in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Yeah, and I partly was raised in Jerusalem, right? I grew up and became a grown-up in Jerusalem. But I haven't forgotten my Russian, and it was my childhood, the 60s. All my childhood was just the 60s. I was born in '58. From 61 that my memory starts till 71. It's very vivid.
Now, your family kind of has a history, of being very active, part of the refuseniks, the Jewish underground movement.
Yeah.
Was this something, how risky was this? I mean, was this something that people were actually killed for at that time?
Well, people were arrested for that, were harassed, would lose jobs and stuff. But it was probably not as dangerous as the majority of population thought, including Jewish Jews in the Soviet Union. So it usually took the braver people. And my parents were actually much older than the average refusnik at the time, because it was something that younger people usually do.
Right, I see. Exactly. More energy to fight.
Well, they're less afraid.
So why is it so important, in your opinion, to keep Yiddish alive and to be able to put it into poetry? I mean, to make these words rhyme.
Right. Well, you see, I actually don't have a mission to keep anything alive. I have a mission just to live. So I really don't like what people say about saving Yiddish or keeping it alive. For me, it's alive. And I do have a remarkable amount of readers. Now it's very easy to reach out to readers through Facebook, through blogs. People don't read as much as they read Facebook. And I do get some feedback, not even just in the form of silly likes, which are not silly psychologically, as we know, but actually people write remarks and thank me for this, or ask about words sometimes. And what I really find mind-boggling, they actually repost some of my poems, which is by and large a language that most people there do not read or do not understand. People that don't know Hebrew mistake it for Hebrew because of the same letters being used. So for me, Yiddish is very much alive. I grew up in the family of a Yiddish poet, of a noted, very important Yiddish poet, who was also a very brave person. He was nearly fatally wounded during the war, fighting the fascists in the Soviet Union, and then he was imprisoned for 10 years in Vorkuta, right? Working in the mines, in the coal mines. So he was a very brave and suffered a lot, but he had tremendous 30 years in Israel afterwards, and he even excelled in his poetry. And for myself, of course, everybody in Russia, in the so-called intelligentsia circles, would start by writing poetry at the teenagerhood. And I started writing in Russian, and then in Hebrew, and then tried in Yiddish.
Yeah.
And I was very proud that I stopped. And then one day I came out and showed my father poems, pretending it to be from someone else, hence my name, Boris Karlov. And he approved it. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but we're at the end of the show.
Thank you very much.
But it's been amazing. Thank you. I'm going to kafel about you. Sorry, I know it's very corny, but I love speaking Yiddish. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.